Nope.
Yes.
How about frustration? Frustration. That is that annoying feeling that we get when things aren't going our way. Especially after we put forth some sort of an effort and we're not yielding the results we wanted. We get frustrated. Anybody? Am I the only one? I get frustrated easily, admit it. How about anger? Do we have anybody in the room who gets angry? Don't throw anything at me, just somebody will do it. Yeah, we all get angry at times, don't we? How about depressed? Anybody ever get depressed? The great philosopher / comedian, Stephen Ray, said that depression is just anger without enthusiasm. We want to be angry, but why bother? Nobody's going to care anyway. Right? We just kind of lost all of our energy. Now, all of these emotions, they're natural. They're acceptable to have these emotions. It's okay to have them. What's not okay is to sit in them for too long. It's also not okay to move forward without ever dealing with them. Something I have a lot of experience with. A little bit about my story, what brought me here today, and essentially what brought all of you here today. In 2008, I found out that I was going to be a dad. I was excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I was finally going to have a baby. I couldn't wait to tell my family. My family's back in Ohio. I was here in Vegas. When I talked to my mom, that was the happiest I had heard my mom in years. She even called me back later that day telling me that she knows I'm going to have a girl. And she can't wait to watch me have to deal with that for the next 18 years. Little did I know that that would be the last conversation I'd ever have with my mom. Less than 36 hours later, she died of a sudden heart attack at the age of 54. That wasn't supposed to happen. I had all those emotions running through me at the time, but who has time for that? I just shoved it aside and moved on. I got right back to work, right back into my daily routine. I even did things like I tried to reason my way through it. Right? I negotiated. I said things like, well, you know, God has taken my mom, but he's blessing me with this child. Maybe it's a circle of life thing. Everything's still going to be okay. I employed other skills to try to not have to deal with her loss. Because I was going to be a father, right? Life was still good. And on April 20th, 2009, I became a dad. Abigail Ann Polish was born. Now this next picture I'm going to show you is my most prized possession in the entire world. You know, they say that newborns aren't capable of giving kisses. As you can see here, Abby's clearly kissing me. This picture was taken just one day after she was born. It also happened to be just one day before she died. So we found out the day before she was born that she tested positive for a genetic disorder, trisomy 18, and it was terminal. We didn't know if she was going to be born alive, and if she was, how long we'd have her for. So we delivered her and just kind of held her for 42 hours. Abby was here with us on earth for 42 hours. And in that time, I experienced every emotion known to man. That unconditional love, joy, fear, frustration, anger, all of it. But short of having her here today, I wouldn't change it for anything. I can remember, shortly after she was born, I would hold her and just kind of walk over and I would dance with her. I only had one CD with us, and I'd put that CD on, start dancing. I wasn't paying any attention. And then somebody came up and was pulling on my arm, like, do you hear this? Do you hear this? hear what? Right? Listen to this song. I wasn't paying attention. It was a song by Mercy Me. And the chorus was, "There's a reason I am alive for the blink of an eye." How much more of a blink of an eye do you get than 42 hours? When we left the hospital, we left empty-handed. She was already gone. And I did similar to when my mom passed. I just jumped right back into life. I'm like, we got to get back to normal as soon as possible. Got back to work, got back to my normal routine. When you find yourself sitting in those emotions, there's really three things you can do. You can sit there, and you can stay stuck in those emotions. You can do the healthy thing and deal with those emotions and move forward, or you can do what I did. And you can start looking for distractions. Anything to take you away from those feelings that you were having. You don't want the fear, frustration, anger, and depression to rule your life, so you look for anything to get you away from it. Some of those are positive, some are not. I started running every day. I also employed a few other coping mechanisms that were a little more self-destructive than that. And this is where we find ourselves falling into things like addictions and other self-destructive behaviors. I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was fine. I thought I can deal with this, I can deal with anything. And then I noticed that I was alienating the people around me. My relationships were falling apart. And even though I was still eating the exact same way I always had, which by the way was horrible, but still the same, and I was running every day, I still gained 50 pounds. See, I was suffering from what I now refer to as a functional depression. So like a functioning alcoholic, I was still going about my business, and I thought I was fine. I didn't feel depressed, but my body was telling me otherwise. I hadn't done the work to deal with any of those emotions yet. And after I found myself divorced and sitting alone in my misery, I realized something had to change. I had to do something different. So the first thing I did, I went to the coffee shop, I started writing. And before you know it, I had my first book, Finding Your Happiness. And I found that that book actually was helpful. It was therapeutic for me, but it was helping other people too. So I realized I had something. And eventually it led all the way to what we're at today, to this conference. But in meeting all these other people, these other speakers, I learned that we all go through stuff. And yet, the process of coming out of it is still fairly similar. And so, my next book that I'm working on right now is a 4D strategy to living an unstuck life. And I want to share with you very quickly, as quickly as possible, what that strategy looks like. You guys have heard of the positive psychology movement, the power of positive thinking, the secret, all that. I want to demonstrate to you over here kind of how that works. And so what we have here, this is what I would refer to as my happy cup, right? And the way that positive psychology works is that we go throughout the day doing things to fill our happy cup. We do things like listen to positive music, spend some quiet time, talk to an encouraging friend, listen to uplifting music, pray, meditate, read, listen to podcasts. We do all these things to fill our happy cup. And it works. But what we don't realize is there's another cup. We never talk about the other cup. This is the cup that holds all of our hurts, hang-ups, and heartbreaks. All of our unmet expectations, they sit in this cup. We don't like to talk about this cup. We just keep pouring into our happy cup. Now, of course, throughout the days, with soul's thirst, if we take a drink from the happy cup, the levels keep going up and down, don't they? Let me show you why positive psychology works. Because what's in our happy cup hides what's in our misery cup. Now, if we never do anything to empty what's in this cup, eventually we're going to have to pour positivity into our life all day long just to get through the day. And that's where I was. I was doing everything right. I was going to church, I was exercising, I was doing the positive things. but man, I hadn't dealt with anything in this negative cup. And so, even though I felt like I was okay, everyone around me could see differently. So now I do put together a workshop where we go through how to deal with what's in this cup. But just to give you the very quick version of it, we can do things like forgive ourselves, forgive others, let go of some of those dreams that are no longer a reality. Right? We can do things like take the negative and turn it to a positive and start a foundation or conferences like this. We can do things to empty the contents of our negative cup so that it's much easier for that positive psychology to work. Right? But you notice there's some things I still kept a little in here. To be honest with you, there are some things in my life I don't want to get over. I don't want to forget the negative. Because some of those negative things are the very things that have made me who I am. They define me. For example, I don't want to get over the loss of my daughter. I want to remember, I want to feel those emotions, but I don't want to stay stuck in it. So one of the things that I came up with a while ago is another way to, by the way, all of these things here, this is the first strategy. The first D is to deal with your unmet expectations. This is how you deal with them. Another strategy that I employ to deal with those unmet expectations, especially the ones that are going to stay in that cup, is I do something that I call scheduling my pain. No, it sounds weird, right? Schedule your pain. I put it on the calendar to go feel bad. Anybody else do that?
No.
Why would anybody want to do that? Well, I'll tell you why. I want to stay connected to those emotions. I want to stay connected to the things that make me feel the way that I feel, that brought me here. I want to remember my mom. I want to remember my daughter. I had a car accident several years ago. I almost lost the use of my leg. I live with pain every day, but when I go schedule my pain, I think about that accident and everything else. I think about the things that were devastating in my life, but have contributed to who I am. Get emotional, sure. But it gives me permission to feel. Tell you what else it does. I always do it in a park somewhere away from the house. And I know that when I leave that park, I can leave that emotion there. I can extract the positive and use it for good, and I don't have to walk around stuck in it. I know I'll be back there someday. In fact, I have kind of a routine that I do when I'm speaking, is I have a video of my daughter that I watch every morning before I speak. I watched it today. Because it's very easy to stand up here and talk about how we're living unstuck and we're getting through things, but not really stay connected to those things. So I make sure that that's part of my routine. All part of dealing with unmet expectations. The next D is to define your ideals. What is important to you? In some cases, it's redefining your ideals. And specifically, in 5 categories. So my first one, finding your happiness, is all about these 5 categories. P is for people. What do the relationships look like in your life if you're perfectly happy? R is the responsibilities. What is your sense of purpose? What's your reason for getting out of bed in the morning? A, for your activities. I put a $ instead of an S for money. I know some people are going to have a problem with that. We'll talk to you later. And an E for your environment. People told me I can't use a $ for money, for an S. I did anyway. I've had other people call me and say, you can't use that acronym because you spelled praise wrong. You're supposed to have an I in there. My comment to them has always been, well, if I don't need praise, praise don't need I. Right? It works. Redefining what you want in each of these 5 categories. I deal with people all the time, and I'll talk to them. They can tell me how unhappy they are, and what they don't have. And I ask them, well, what is it that you want? Number one answer I get, I don't know. Well, how can you get it if you don't know what it is? Spend some time and define what's important to you. For the next D, I want to introduce you to a few of my friends. I don't have many, but I brought them here. First one. First friend is this yellow balloon here. Always happy, always positive. Everything in life is great. We talk about positive psychology, power, everything. They totally agree. They get it. They understand. It works for them. This next one, blue here. When we're talking about positive things, they're nodding their head in agreement. They believe it too. They know that it's true. They know about the power of positive thinking. Right? They know happiness is a choice. They know these things in their head. The problem with this one is they don't yet feel it in their heart. They know it works because they've seen it work for other people. It's just not working for them. When is it going to be my turn? I spent a lot of time here too. The danger with this is when self-doubt creeps in. You start wondering if you're good enough. Why is it working for everybody else, but it's not working for me? Maybe it's a question, well, does God even really love me? Is he blessing everybody else, but not me? Be careful. This one, it's a little scary. And the last one, you know what? That's okay. Because that was anger. And that's exactly what happens, is it blows up on you. Right? That angry friend, about the same time you said happiness was a choice, they wanted to punch you in the face. They're tired of hearing that everything that's gone wrong in their life is their fault. That somehow the job they worked at for 20 years went away and the factory closed down because they didn't write enough positive Post-it notes. Right? They're sick of hearing that. Now the difference between all of these is how developed their faith is. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about faith in God, though that helps. What I'm talking about is that belief that everything's going to work out. That understanding that no matter what you're faced with, things can get better. And they will get better. So how do you develop your faith? Well, you're doing it right now. You're sitting here watching 12 speakers come up and share their stories of how they've overcome, how they've managed to move forward in life after dealing with difficult circumstances. You can now take their stories and add them to your experiences as an eyewitness to what has happened in their life and the changes happened in their life. And you know what? We have a lot of other people in the audience that probably should be on the stage. And just sharing with them, you'll have that same opportunity to develop your faith. And the last D, to drive home. Keep moving, no matter what. What's the old saying? How far can you walk into the woods? Anybody? Halfway. Because after that, you're walking out the other side. When you say something like, you don't know what I'm going through, you've admitted victory right there. You've admitted that you're going to get through it. Otherwise, you would say to people, you don't know what I'm stuck in. Right? You will get through it. But you have to be willing to pick yourself up and keep moving. While you're dragging on, I find we come up with 3 obstacles. Roadblocks. Roadblocks, that's when you have your eyes set on your destination, you're moving toward your destination, and suddenly the road just stops. You can't go any further. You might be able to see the destination right in front of you. You could see other people coming in and out. They can get there, but you can't. Not anymore. It could be that roadblock is simply a detour. You can still get there, but it's going to take you longer than expected, and you're going to have to go through some things first. Maybe learn a thing or two before you get to that destination. Other times, it's a collision. A force greater than us is just going to stop you in your tracks, bring you to your knees, and get your attention. You can't go any further. The key to all 3 of those is that when those things happen, we have no choice but to turn and look in a new direction. Move forward in faith, believing that things can work out. And then I promise you, opportunities will come your way, but they will never meet you back in the middle of the wreckage. They will find you on your path once you get moving again. Now, trust me, there will always be this Abby-sized hole in my heart. You know, I thought I'd find happiness through being your dad. But I had to deal with my unmet expectations first. I had to do things like forgive God, forgive myself, let go of that dream that I was giving to people to raise her, and do something positive with the experience that I had. Remember that song, There's a Reason I'm Alive for Blink of an Eye? You're the reason. You sitting here today is the reason she was here for Blink of an Eye. So we all can share these positive experiences and positive stories so we can go out and influence others. So I had to deal with my unmet expectations. I had to define my ideals. And part of that was I had to redefine my daughter's role in my life. I thought that her role was going to be my daughter and watch her grow up. She still has a role in my life. She's my why for all of this. So now for me, every day is take your daughter to work day. Right? Still a part of all this. So I defined my ideals. I had to develop my faith. I got involved in organizations like the National Speakers Association. I started meeting great people like the speakers that we have here today. I got around people who have been through all kinds of circumstances and come out victorious. Jim Rohn said that you become like the 5 people that you hang around the most. Well, I just start putting on conferences so I can hang around cool people like these guys. Right? And I drive on. I keep moving no matter what is facing. And it's not easy. Trust me, putting it on an unstuck conference, you get stuck. I've been stuck a few times in the past couple of weeks putting on this conference. But you drive on. Whatever you're going through, whatever circumstances you find yourself in today, be willing to pick yourself up out of the wreckage, turn and look in a new direction, move forward in faith, believing that things can work out. But remember this much. As long as you're willing to work the gas pedal, God can work the steering wheel, but He doesn't move parked cars.